Let me ask you something personal. You just finished a 12-hour shift. Your feet hurt, your back hurts. You've been on your feet since 6 in the morning taking care of other people, checking vitals, administering medications, managing emergencies, staying calm when everything around you is anything but. And somewhere between clocking out and driving home, a thought crosses your mind that you've had before but never said out loud. Is any of this actually building towards something? Because right now, it just feels like surviving. If you're a nurse in America in 2026, that thought is not weakness. That thought is math. And today, we're going to do that math together. We're going to find out, with real numbers, real salaries, and no sugarcoating, whether a nurse working a regular American income can actually retire rich. Not comfortable, not okay, rich. And I think the answer is going to surprise you. My name is Ryan, and I built this channel for everyday working Americans, the nurses, the teachers, the truck drivers, the people earning real salaries who want real answers. If that sounds like you, subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. Let's get into it. Before we run the numbers, I want to address something. There is a version of this conversation that gets really discouraging really fast. You look at your salary, you look at your expenses, you look at your student loans, and you think the gap between where you are and where you want to be is just too large to close on a nurse's income. I've heard that from nurses. I understand why it feels that way. But here's the thing about feelings versus math. Feelings are based on what we can see right now. Math is based on what happens over time. And what happens to money over time, when it's managed correctly, is one of the most counterintuitive and genuinely exciting things in all of personal finance. Think of it like physical therapy. One session doesn't feel like progress. 1 month feels slow. But the patient who shows up consistently, follows the protocol, and trusts the process over years, they walk out of that clinic doing things they were told they might never do again. Money works exactly the same way. Consistency over time produces results that feel impossible at the starting line. So, let's start at the starting line. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median annual salary for a registered nurse in America right now is approximately $81,000 per year. Now that number varies significantly by state, specialty, and experience. Travel nurses can push that considerably higher. Nurses in lower cost of living states might sit closer to $65,000. But let's work with $81,000 because it's the number that represents the middle of the profession. The nurse who has been working for several years has found their specialty and is earning what most nurses in this country actually earn. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare, that $81,000 gross income becomes somewhere between $58,000 and $63,000 in actual take-home pay depending on your state. Let's call it $60,000 take-home to keep the math clean. That's $5,000 per month hitting your bank account. Now here's where most people stop doing the math, because $5,000 a month sounds like enough until you start listing what it has to cover. And in 2026, that list is longer and more expensive than it ever has been. Think about what that $5,000 is already spoken for. Rent or mortgage in most American cities right now is running between $1,400 and $2,000 per month for a modest apartment or a starter home payment. Let's say $1,700. Groceries for one person are running about $400 per month after inflation has done what inflation does. A car payment, insurance, and gas combined, roughly $600 per month. Student loans, and this is the one that hits nurses particularly hard. The average nursing student graduates with between $40,000 and $80,000 in student loan debt, depending on whether they went the associate degree route or the BSN route. With repayments fully restarted as of 2024 and 2025, that could be anywhere from $300 to $700 per month, depending on your balance and repayment plan.
Add it up. Housing, $1,700. Food, $400. Transportation, $600. Student loans, $400. Utilities, phone, internet, another $250. We're at $3,350 before we've bought a single non-essential thing. That leaves $1,650 per month. And from that $1,650, we need to build retirement. an emergency fund, and still have a life worth living. Now, I know that just made some of you tense up. Stay with me, because this is exactly where most financial advice fails nurses. It looks at that $1,650 and says, see, there's room to save. And technically that's true, but it doesn't acknowledge what working 12-hour shifts 3 days a week, sometimes 4, does to a human being. It doesn't acknowledge that you deserve to decompress, to eat out sometimes, to take a vacation, to have a life outside of the hospital. Advice that ignores your actual humanity isn't financial advice. It's a math problem pretending to be wisdom. So let's build a real plan that treats you like a whole person. Here's the framework. Of that $1,650 remaining after your fixed expenses, here is how we split it to actually build wealth without destroying your quality of life. First and immediately, if your employer offers a 401k or 403b match, and most hospital systems do, you capture every single dollar of that match before anything else. This is not optional. This is not something to get to later. An employer match is the only guaranteed 100% return on investment that exists in personal finance. If your hospital matches 50% of contributions up to 6% of your salary and you contribute 6%, they add money to your retirement account for free. On an $81,000 salary, 6% is $4,860 per year coming out of your gross paycheck, which, because it's a traditional 401k contribution, reduces your taxable income and makes your actual take-home pay reduction smaller than the raw number suggests. Your employer adds $2,430 on top of that for free every year, just for participating in a plan your job already offers you. Most nurses I've looked at the data on are either not enrolled but contributing below the match threshold, or contributing the match percentage but not aware of what they're actually accumulating. If this is you, this is the first thing to fix. This week, not next week, this week. Now let's run the actual retirement math. And I want you to pay close attention here, because this is the number that is going to change how you think about your career. Let's say you're 30 years old. You're a registered nurse earning $81,000 gross. After your expenses we just walked through, you have roughly $1,650 per month in flexible income. From that, you commit $500 per month to retirement investing, split between your 401k contribution that captures the full employer match and a Roth IRA that you open and contribute to monthly. A Roth IRA in 2026 allows you to contribute up to $7,000 per year. That's $583 per month. So between your 401k contributions, your employer match, and your Roth IRA, you are putting roughly $800 to $900 per month into retirement vehicles in total when you count everything. Let's be conservative. Let's say $700 per month going into retirement accounts consistently, invested in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund averaging 8% annual returns, which is below the historical average of the market over the past century. From age 30 to age 65, 35 years of consistent, undramatic, automatic monthly investing. The result? $1.07 million. From a nursing salary, from $700 per month, from just showing up consistently for 35 years and letting compound interest do the work you're too busy to do yourself, because you're busy doing the actual work of keeping people alive. And here's what makes that number even more significant. That $1.07 million, using the 4% withdrawal rule, the standard financial planning guideline for sustainable retirement income, generates $42,800 per year in retirement income, plus Social Security benefits, which for a nurse with a 35-year working history would add somewhere between $18,000 and $24,000 per year, depending on your earnings record. Total retirement income somewhere between $60,000 and $67,000 per year, without touching any other asset you might accumulate over those 35 years. That is not scraping by. That is not hoping Social Security runs out. That is a funded, dignified, financially free retirement built entirely on a nurse's salary, with $700 per month of consistent investing. Now, I want to show you what happens when you adjust one variable, because this is where the math gets both more exciting and more urgent at the same time. Let's say instead of starting at 30, you start at 35. Same $700, same 8% average return, same consistency, but you start 5 years later. Instead of $1.07 million at 65, you end up with approximately $727,000. That 5-year delay cost you $343,000, not because you did anything wrong in those 5 years, just because compound interest had 5 fewer years to work. And if you start at 40, you end up with about $490,000. Still meaningful, still a real retirement, but less than half of what starting at 30 produces. I'm not telling you this to make anyone who is 38 or 42 feel hopeless. I'm telling you this because if you are 28 or 30 or 32 and you are watching this video right now, you are sitting on the most valuable financial asset you will ever own. And it is not your paycheck. It is the time between right now and retirement. And every month that time goes unused is a month of compound growth you cannot get back.
Now let's talk about the student loan piece, because I know that's sitting in the back of a lot of nurses' minds right now. If you have $60,000 in student loans at a 5 to 6% interest rate, and you're paying $450 per month, should you be throwing extra money at the loans before you invest? This is one of the most common and genuinely complicated personal finance questions for nurses specifically. Here is the honest answer. If your student loan interest rate is below 7%, which most federal nursing student loans are, the mathematical answer is to invest rather than aggressively prepay the loans. Here's why. Your expected long-term investment return in an index fund is 8% annually. Your loan costs you 5.5% annually. You are earning more on the invested dollar than you are losing on the borrowed dollar. The math favors investing over aggressive loan prepayment when the loan rate is below your expected investment return. However, and this is important, if carrying the loan debt is causing you serious anxiety, affecting your mental health, or preventing you from sleeping at night, the psychological cost of that debt is real and it matters. A financial plan you can actually stick to is always better than a mathematically optimal plan you abandon because it doesn't account for how you actually feel. So if paying off the loans faster gives you the peace of mind to invest consistently afterward, that is a legitimate choice. Just go in eyes open about what the math shows. Here's something most financial content won't tell nurses. Your profession has specific financial advantages that most working Americans don't have access to, and most nurses aren't fully using them. Many hospital systems offer loan forgiveness programs, particularly through the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which forgives remaining federal student loan balances after 10 years of qualifying payments for employees of nonprofit hospitals, which covers the majority of major hospital systems in America. If you work for a qualifying nonprofit hospital and you are not enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan working toward PSLF, you may be leaving tens of thousands of dollars of loan forgiveness on the table. That is not a small thing. For a nurse with $70,000 in federal loans working at a nonprofit hospital, PSLF could eliminate your remaining balance after 10 years of payments. That freed up $450 per month that was going to loans becomes $450 per month going into investments. The compounding effect of that shift over the remaining years to retirement is enormous. Additionally, many nurses work overtime or pick up extra shifts periodically. The financial move that changes retirements is what you do with overtime income. If your regular income covers your regular expenses and you treat every dollar of overtime as untouchable investment money routed directly into your Roth IRA or a taxable brokerage account, your wealth-building timeline compresses significantly. The nurse who makes $81,000 base and earns $8,000 to $12,000 per year in overtime and invests every dollar of that overtime is building a retirement that most people earning $120,000 base salaries never reach. Let me show you two nurses side by side. Same age, same hospital, same base salary of $81,000, same student loans, same life. Nurse 1 starts at 30. She enrolls in her hospital's 403B immediately and contributes enough to capture the full employer match.
She opens a Roth IRA and sets up a $300 per month automatic contribution. She enrolls in an income-driven repayment plan for her student loans and submits her employer certification form. When she picks up overtime shifts, she routes the extra income directly into her Roth IRA until it's maxed for the year. She does this not because she is extraordinary. She does this because someone explained the system to her clearly. Nurse 2 is just as smart, just as hardworking, just as dedicated, but nobody explained the system. She contributes to her 403b, but only at 2% because nobody told her about the employer match threshold. She doesn't have a Roth IRA because investing feels complicated and she hasn't had time to figure it out. She's making standard loan payments without knowing about PSLF. When she picks up overtime, she spends it because she earned it and she deserves it. At age 65, Nurse 1 has approximately $1.4 million in retirement accounts, including the overtime investment strategy and the employer match fully captured over 35 years. Nurse 2 has approximately $310,000. Same salary, same hospital, same years of service. The difference is not income. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is knowledge and the system built around that knowledge. That gap, $1.4 million versus $310,000, is entirely explained by information, by someone sitting down and walking through the numbers clearly, which is exactly what we just did. I know some of you are watching this and running your own math in your head right now, and it's not landing the way you hoped. Maybe you're 44 and the starting at 30 numbers feel like they're not for you anymore. Maybe you're carrying more debt than the scenario I walked through. Maybe your take-home is tighter than the numbers I used because of your state taxes or your specific loan situation. I hear you, and I want you to know that this video wasn't built to make you feel like you missed something. It was built to show you exactly where the levers are so you can pull them from wherever you are right now. The nurse who starts this system at 40 with $500 per month still retires with nearly $500,000 in investment accounts, plus Social Security. That is not a crisis. That is a foundation. The nurse who makes one change this week, just one, like enrolling in the 403b at the match threshold, has started something that compound interest will spend the next 25 years building on. The fact that you are here right now watching a video about retirement math when you could be doing literally anything else after a 12-hour shift means you are already taking this seriously. That already puts you in a different category than most people. You deserve better than spending 3 decades taking care of everyone else and arriving at retirement with nothing left to take care of yourself. You deserve better than a system that asked everything of you professionally and gave you no financial roadmap for what comes after. The profession you chose is one of the most demanding and most important in this country. Your retirement should reflect that, not by luck, not by hoping the numbers work out, but by running the math, knowing the system, and making the specific moves that compound into real financial freedom over time. The nurse who retires rich is not the one who earned the most. She is the one who understood the system early enough for it to work. You understand it now. The employer match is waiting, the Roth IRA is waiting, the compound interest is waiting. The only thing left is the decision to start. And that decision is entirely yours.